This year, at 7 regional qualifiers around the country, involved more than 120 teams and 500 sailors, from the pros high on the ranking circuit to amateurs who fancied their chances. The National Championship final itself was held in Falmouth as the climax of the Cornwall '98 celebrations. The 28 teams that qualified were part of the biggest match racing event of its type in the world. The first 2 rounds were group rounds where each team raced all the other members of the group. The top 16 from round 1 went on to round 2, where the top 8 went forward to the knockout stage for quarters, semis and finals. As we look at the teams, one of the sailors from Group A, Cordelia Eglin, the women's national champion, talked about her differences being her strengths.
The difference between the men and the women is that women have allowed to sail 5 up, which gives us speed, agility and an extra set of hands, where the men have got just brute strength and power and weight behind them. So I find it very exciting and challenging, and the mind game is actually harder with the racing against the boys. But when you beat them, gosh, is it satisfying.
Young Leo Dixon was seeded at 8, but was looking to topple some of the big names.
I think it's pretty equal, us against the top guys. They've obviously got the experience, more time in the boats, but on the day, the enthusiasm we have to win is very strong.
Ranked 5, Richard Sydenham was second last year, experienced his key to winning.
I think actually it's your crew. Most of the skippers are very similar standard, and having that little extra in the crew work really helps.
Group B, like Group A, was a 6-team group with a varied collection of seeds and outsiders. Seeded 4, Ian Williams, the defending champion, was not expecting an easy time.
It certainly a little bit tougher this year. I think the whole standard of British match racing has gone up since last year and is continuing to do so. Plus the inclusion of the likes of Chris Law and Andy Beadsworth is definitely going to make it a very tough competition.
And tough on newcomers too. Sam Barron-Fox, seeded 14.
It is a game of cat and mouse, and therefore the pressure does mount up. You just have to think through it and remain calm in your mind.
And at 9, Jessie Cuthbert felt it was time for a woman to make her name in match racing.
It's only been, I think, 3 years ago that women was introduced into match racing in the UK. So it's always been men on top, but now the women are coming through, which is good. I'm cruel, I'm nasty, I can do this, yeah. We can beat them.
For the 8 in Group C, the challenges were harder, particularly as the group contained 2 of the top seeds. Andy Beadsworth has won it 3 times, but over the years has mellowed his style.
I think I certainly used to be aggressive. I'm a lot less aggressive now than I used to be. And I think that's a development of the sport, and the amount of people who are now know the game, know the rules, and the aggressive tactics becomes very high risk.
Risk brings reward, as Andy Green, ranked 36 in the world, explained his killer instinct.
Well, I think it's defeat that gives you a killer instinct. Actually, learning that when you lose, it hurts so much that it's a real mission to win. And it's a whole range of things, but I think you do need that killer instinct to win.
But all the talk of Group D surrounded the presence of one man, Chris Law, ranked 2 in the world. He was the scalp everyone craved, but he was ready.
I think I'm very tough now on a race course, emotionally. We do know how to street fight if we have to. We are firm to play against, there's no question about it. We have a total understanding and empathy with the rules. If we could win the Worlds this year, we would, I think, be number 1.
Well, as things get underway on the water, I'm joined by my co-commentator Malcolm McCaig, who, as an international judge, has umpired many of these contests. But first of all, Malcolm, some young talent has impressed you here.
Tremendously slow. Young Leo Dixon, only 21 years of age. We saw him last year win a silver medal in the youth match racing competition down in New Zealand. Now he's racing against the skipper he had there, Ian Williams. Some very cool, good new sailors coming through.
They're cool, good new sailors, but are they good enough to beat the international stars?
Well, that's what we're going to watch, isn't it?
And the first thing we saw was young Neil McGregor overtake the mighty Law. McGregor got ahead but couldn't hold on.
An excellent race for me because it's good quality opposition. We were soundly beating the pre-start, so it was always catch up, and we managed to do it in the second beat, which is quite nice. And then we were just taken out quite convincingly by giving the penalties. Yeah, good experience.
But the first real upset was the departure of Cordelia Eglin. The architect from London went out after a 3-way sail-off, the only real surprise of Group A and B as the top seeds prevailed. Jessie Cuthbert, good to her word, came through Group B in second with 4 wins from 5 races. Sydenham and Williams were both unbeaten. And in C and D, the top names made it through. Andy Green and Chris Law, both undefeated in their group. Shirley Robertson dropping just 2 races in Group D. And as we prepare to go sailing, a look at the match racing course. The 2 boats lock horns from opposite sides with 4 minutes to go. They spend those 4 minutes twisting and turning, trying to use the rules to engineer a better start or give their rival a penalty turn. From the start, it's upwind to the top mark, downwind to the bottom mark for 2 or 3 laps before the finish downwind. We join round 2, Cuthbert versus Robertson, commentary from Richard Simmons and Malcolm McCaig.
Cuthbert will be desperately disappointed to have incurred that penalty in the pre-start. A real head-to-head between Shirley Robertson, ranked number 6 in this competition, and Jessie Cuthbert, ranked number 9, 2 of the top women skippers in the UK. On board Robertson.
What's happening up the track?
Asking for information further up the racetrack.
Pardon?
They've been knocked. Well, wait! Come on, guys!
Should we tack while we can?
Should they tack there, Malcolm?
Cuthbert's between her and the next mark. She really has to get across to the other side of Cuthbert now, but that's the angle she has to make. She has to get across her bow.
Is the jib out?
Not down yet.
Okay.
Robertson's elected not to tack. Looks round to see Cuthbert.
Cuthbert's going quicker.
They're down.
We're getting a big knock.
They're down now as well.
They're getting headed away from the mark.
Can I go?
She's asking whether to go, Malcolm. She's going to tack now.
Wind shift at just the wrong minute. See the way she was lifted there? She wasn't able to tack. Options fast running out for Shirley now. Cuthbert's driving her over into the left-hand corner.
Cuthbert is now sailing Robertson beyond the mark. Robertson's trapped. They're not looking comfortable there. They've got nowhere to go.
Robertson 5 wins out of 7 races. She's won 28% of her starts. Cuthbert 4 wins out of 7, and she hasn't won a single start. Worrying for Robertson because Cuthbert is fast round the track.
She's faster up this leg. Robertson's tactician, very grimly saying just follow them, they've got a penalty, don't take any big risks.
All the initiative now with Cuthbert. She's controlling the race. She's on starboard tack, she has right of way, but she's still got that penalty against her, trying to open up a gap to give her time to burn the penalty off.
Robertson now has just got to sit and wait.
We will be hoisting.
Oh, and there she goes. Cuthbert pulls the tiller towards her.
She's taking the penalty now, a complete turn, including a jibe, then she must come back up to close hold course.
Robertson tacks behind her. Spinnaker up on Cuthbert's boat. Well, that was brilliantly executed, wasn't it, Malcolm?
Well, has she come up to close hold course? If she hasn't burned off the penalty.
Still have a penalty.
Shirley Robertson knows that. Oh, and there's a second penalty. Well, Cuthbert thought she'd done it all right, but she's done it all wrong. She's got 2 penalties now. Spinnaker down on board.
They're having a meltdown.
All gone wrong for Cuthbert.
She didn't complete the first penalty by coming to a close hold course. Technically, she was still doing the penalty when she reached the mark. That's against the rules.
From there, it should have been easy, but Cuthbert's pace brought her back into the contest with the finish line just yards away.
Gaining momentum all the way down to the finish. On the right, Robertson jibes. It's neck and neck now. Finish line about 20 metres ahead. Robertson on starboard. Oh, and Cuthbert's jibed onto port, squeezing on the inside track. It's neck and neck for the finish. Difficult to, well, look at the body language there. Cuthbert lost it, but by a whisker there. She really did have the boat speed, and I think Shirley Robertson will count herself very lucky at the end.
Jessie Cuthbert caught out only by the minutiae of the rules of match racing.
That race helped knock Cuthbert out, and in the end Robertson joined her too. Olympic sailor Ian Budgeon a surprise departure, and in that Group E, Andy Green was unbeaten in the contest up to that point. In Group F, Williams beat Law and Beadsworth, but all the favourites came safely through.
The BTRYA National Match Racing Championship certainly attracts some of the country's top sailors, including many of those going for gold in Sydney next time. Now, with me to discuss both this event and the prospects of Britain's sailors in the next Olympics is silver medalist Ian Walker. Now, first of all, what is the relevance of this event to an Olympic campaign?
I think probably the 2 biggest areas are the one-on-one tactics that can make the difference between gold and silver, and also being able to handle the pressure. There's nothing like a match race where you have to win it. There's no second place, it's first or nothing, and that is very similar to the Olympics. You only get one chance.
Well, last time Britain's sailors did well, 2 silver medals, impressive performance.
Yeah, no, it was great. We had a strong team and we were very pleased with 2 silver medals, Ben Ainsley in the laser and John and myself in the 470. But having said that, we can't help but think that we had 2 fourth places, and that could have been 2 more medals.
Well, some of those people are here, like the Andy Beadsworths, the Shirley Robertsons. Andy Beadsworth's a guy who came 4th last time, getting better and better.
Yes, and I think the experience will really help him because, of course, in his discipline, he's just match racing at the Olympics.
Shirley Robertson, she's always been unlucky at the games. Are things going to change for her?
I think she's getting better and better. I mean, she's been twice now. She's improved time on time, and I think when she gets back full-time training, I think we'll see her at the front of the fleet.
I really looked at ways to sort of learn sailing skills in different areas, and that's why I'm perhaps so keen to do the match racing and to sail with some other people.
Now, one of your great rivals in the 49er class, Ian Budgeon, is here. The Budgeon brothers are going places.
Yes, I'm only too familiar with them as I'm actually racing against them in the 49er. Very tough competitors. They were second in the Worlds, and it's not just them. There's a whole host of people in that class, and I wouldn't like to predict who's going to make it, but whoever goes for Britain, I think will have a very good chance for a medal.
It's interesting, we talk about Olympic sailors, the Beadsworths and the Robertsons, but none of these people have qualified yet, and at this event there's a lot of young sailors, perhaps with an eye on an Olympic place.
Dixon I've seen over the last day, and I'm impressed with how calm he is.
Having sailed against some of the Olympic guys here and the top sailors in the country who have represented the country in the Olympics, done all the training, I'd like to think we can get up to their standards, hopefully eventually beat these guys at their own game and represent the country.
We have enormous talent. The RYA right now, the Royal Yachting Association, our governing body, is doing a fantastic job right from the youth programme through to the elite racing teams such as ours. It's run very well and it actually serves the sport very well. For the future we can branch out, we can take on any element of the sport, we can take on the world.
One of the little-known facts about match racing is that it can be won or lost before the start. There's 10 minutes of the race, about 4 minutes beforehand. It's like 2 gladiators entering an arena, very tricky. One of the connoisseurs of this is a 3-times champion, and he's talking to Richard Simmons.
Well, I'm on board with Andy Beadsworth coming into the pre-start. There's 4 minutes to the start now. What Andy's got to try and do against his opponent, Andy Green, is get control over him at the start line. But more than that, he's got to try and avoid a penalty. But as a bonus, he's got to try and give Green a penalty.
We're coming in on port as the giveaway boat, so we're going to have to do everything to keep away from Andy, who is coming in on starboard.
Beadsworth, coming in from the top of the screen, is going to try and force Green away from the start line on the starting area.
Go down if I can, which we've actually got here. Chasing him down, forcing him out to the left-hand side.
What we'll try and do here is we're going to try and get in front of him.
Okay, he's either got to try.
If we can get in front of him, we get to a clear position.
I'm not clearing at the moment.
Okay, we're not clearing at the moment because he has slightly better speed and he is on starboard. We're both on opposite jibe. He's coming up here, we're having to jibe towards her.
What happened there?
We are slightly towards him. Green flag.
Green flag, so no penalties given by the umpires.
Okay, now we're in the lure position, overlapped, he's still giveaway boat.
What we'll do is we'll go to the wall, which is right ahead of us. We'll call for room to jibe here. Room to jibe!
The rules allow Green to use the wall to try and lever Beadsworth off his stern in the controlling position.
I'm going to spin down and go behind him now. Big spin.
The 2 boats are circling, each one trying to get behind each other so that they can dictate the course of the one in front.
Okay, what we're doing here is we're actually using this wall behind us to try and escape from him. Now what he's done here is he's gone too close. So we're actually going to come and try and come inside him. If we can get on his tail, we're going very close to the wall here.
Backing hard here. He's about under a metre behind us. He's chasing us down. The line is up there about 100 metres.
And you still mustn't lose track of how far you are from the line and how long there is to go.
Lose time. We're about 30 from the line.
30 from the line, a minute to the start. We've got to stop.
Come up.
Andy now pushing the boat into the wind.
Another turn.
Up! He's got to go up here. Okay, good. Speed on here, guys. Speed on here. Okay, he's going back around here. We got it. I feel like we're in the ascendancy here. We've got the advantage. How long to go?
40 seconds, Rick.
Driving. Okay, we're going all the way to the line now.
Right, you're telling
Time on distance. Give it, come on.
For a penalty, no penalty there from the umpires. We're trying to head towards the line, the wind's against, we're not laying the line. Up above there, Andy Green looks to be in a better position.
Okay, now he's on port over there, okay?
Now Green has the right of way. He can sail straight at Beadsworth, try and balk his approach to the line. Beadsworth must keep clear.
Flag that, flag that. Okay, tack, sail now. Okay, he got a penalty.
We're protesting. Why are you protesting, Andy?
Protesting for a windward boat there.
Your protest didn't work.
That was green flag because we managed to keep clear. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're just going to shadow him all the way up the beat. We're going to try and keep between us and the windward mark, okay? He's going to try and tack as many times as he can to try and shake our cover. What about it, mate? Okay, he's down there. We're good.
The quarter-final draw saw Baron Fox in the biggest match of his life, up against the #1 seed Chris Law. Ironically, Richard Sydenham was drawn against his Olympic skipper Andy Beadsworth, while defending champion Ian Williams took on newcomer Mike Preston. Baron Fox outstarted Law and crossed ahead in race 1 of their first-to-3 contest, but experience served Law well, and he went on to win in straight races.
Anyone is beatable. Our preparation probably wasn't quite as good as Chris's. Obviously, he's done a great deal on America's Cups and very high-profile match racing events, and this is the first time I've ever steered this event. With the benefit of hindsight, I can only say that we're relatively happy and we know what we need to go away and what we need to work on.
Leo Dixon had trouble keeping his campaign on course and his crew on the boat, and went out to green in straight races with a few lessons learned from the world's number 36.
The pre-start was pretty good. We got off the start line just in front of Andy, started tacking up the beat, and then about the fourth time we split tacks, we carried on for a bit longer than we should have done. A bit of bad sailing on my part not to cover him earlier than we should have done, but pretty pleased with the pre-start, but again, we still lost the race, so lessons to be learned now, I think, for all of us.
And in the grudge match, the servant got the better of the master as Sydenham went 2-0 up to Beadsworth. We joined their third race just before the start with Beadsworth on the ropes. Lose this one and he's out.
Beadsworth fighting now to stay in the competition, also fighting for some pride. Remember Sydenham, his Olympic crew. Doesn't like that start, Andy Beadsworth, feeling he's coming off the line slower than Sydenham.
At the moment, it's all down to speed. Sydenham to weather in control, but he must keep clear of Beadsworth.
Sydenham, of course, the great psychological advantage of being 2 up. Beadsworth really up against it at the moment. Oh, and those statistics, look at them, they really don't bear out the one-sidedness of this semi-final. They've both won 10, similar number of starts won. But really, Beadsworth up against it, trying to find some way out.
And a luff from Beadsworth, but really not so much an attacking move, more an act of desperation.
Green flag from the umpire boat.
All he's done is slow himself down and given more space to Sydenham.
Sydenham looking more comfortable, clear ahead of Beadsworth. Boat length and a half in it right now. Little for Beadsworth to do surely, particularly as he's going slower.
You can't really use match race tactics unless you can keep up with your opponent. And today, Beadsworth just doesn't seem to have the pace.
And that is a surprise. Andy Beadsworth, part of the British match racing squad. He's financed from the world-class performance scheme, but he's trailing Sydenham into this top mark.
Beadsworth had no answers to the speed and tactical skill of his Olympic crew. A satisfying win. An embarrassing defeat.
It's mainly the crew work, really. We came off the starts pretty even. Got some good shifts up the beats and good sets to the mark and sailed away. It was really good crew work.
Any comments on that, Andy?
Just an entirely unsatisfactory performance from ourselves, really. Richard sailed very well, but satisfactory performance from ourselves.
In the end, all of the quarterfinals were settled in straight races. Green beating Dixon, Law beating Baron Fox, Sydenham overcoming Beadsworth, and Williams winning against Preston. It made for an enticing semi-final lineup and more pressure for Chris Law.
If you looked at the rankings, you don't need to raise your game now. This should be an easy match.
No, not at all. We recognise he's got the talent and he's on a very steep learning curve.
I think we'll both go at it fairly hard. You know, we're both fairly aggressive sailors, and we're both keen to win.
Quick final thoughts. Give yourself a chance out of 10 for beating Chris in this semi-final.
I'll give us 10 out of 10.
Talk to me about Richard's style.
Yeah, Richard is a very relaxed sailor. He goes out to try and sail quicker around the course than the other player, rather than trying to put penalties on the other player. I think I'm quite similar, having learned from him for 2 years, perhaps a little bit different to the Chris Laws of this world.
Well, on the shore, both sets of skippers were saying what different semi-finals these will be. This will be the aggressive one.
It's all down to the personalities of the individual sailors. Green has got a lot to prove here. He's very hot to get the title. Chris Law has always been aggressive.
Green went on the attack from the outset and gave Law a penalty from the start.
Where did you learn that, manoeuvre? I learned that from a chap called Chris Law, actually. I watched him do it at the Knickerbocker Cup in New York, and he pulled it off beautifully.
It put Green 1-0 up, and on the other side of the draw, Sydenham beat Williams. But race 2, and Green was in trouble as his foredeck crew had trouble with a faulty spinnaker pole and spent most of the pre-start trying to fix it. Green lost the race, but took it to the umpires.
We accepted that if we were going to get a new pole, we'd actually go with that and sail the pre-start. As it happens, we were given a defective pole, a pole that didn't work, and that thus affected our race. And
Okay, we've been through everything. I mean, we have a lot of sympathy with Andy because he was trying to be cooperative. On the other hand, we also have to be fair to Chris. We believe that Chris won the start fairly, the windward leg, and so we are not certain enough that the outcome of the match was prejudiced to be able to give redress.
The umpires have spoken. Let's go beat him.
Law marched off, having squared at 1-1. He went on to win the next, and we join race 3. Green needs a result here to stay in the contest.
Yellow, Andy Green. That's the start gun, pretty even start there as Andy Green tacks.
No one really coming off the line with an advantage. Green to windward, but Law slightly further advanced. We'll see who's ahead when next they cross.
And you can see there, prior to this match, Andy Green unbeaten in the competition. Chris Law lost just one. That one was to Andy Green. So psychologically, Chris Law here could be at a slight disadvantage. Law prepares to tack. Quick look round. It's going to be tight, but I think he's going to go behind Andy Green.
Dodgy call there, calling for water on that pontoon, but in fact he could have got round behind Andy Green anyway, but he hasn't. Green has now elected to tack underneath him in what's called the safe leeward position.
Bit of a distance there. It was deceptive, wasn't it? It looked like it was much closer than it is. Law now in a dominant position.
Well, Green's still out over on the right, so when Green tacks again, he'll come back on the controlling starboard tack. So good tactical position here for Green. It's all on who's going to cross. Green has the right of way.
But Chris Law is clear ahead, half a boat length ahead of Andy Green.
Yeah, it is.
Now this is interesting. Law is carrying on. He hasn't come back to cover Green. He obviously feels he's in either more wind or a better
angle. We're gaining here, guys. We're gaining here.
Andy Green equally confident with his position.
The dark patches on the water show us where the extra breeze is.
Andy Green has tacked, he's on port tack now. He's got no right of way over Chris Law, but will he be ahead? Looks under the boom to see.
No, he's going to go behind him.
Diving behind Law.
But Law altered course to try and balk him there.
Well, there's a collision there, there's got to be a penalty.
Crash boats like that, jib in, Jim. Jib in. No way! Sail.
Green was on port, but Law was altering.
This is 2 penalties, 2 penalties. Sail.
Blue flag from the umpires. They've penalised Law for altering course, although he was right of way.
Well, Law's got a penalty, he's behind, but look on board, still relatively calm.
That was a sight of the old-fashioned Chris Law, just too much aggression. He was in control of that race, now he's behind.
And Andy Green's now in control of this one, as he heads downwind, what, a boat length and a half in it. Law round, spinnaker pole at the ready.
Go hoist, go hoist.
Just watch the crew work on this.
And less than a lap later, Chris Law was back in touch and closing. Remember, he's still carrying a penalty.
Law still with a penalty against him. He has to find a way to get closer to green to wipe that penalty.
Wait, he's tacked thin on us here. He's tacked thin on us here. He's with us.
Green happy that both boats are heading in the same direction on the same tack. Look at the body language, hunching, leaning backwards and forwards. The tension as green tacks. Law's coming in on port. Law's got no right of way.
Look how relaxed Law is, though.
Law dives down behind Andy Green. Andy Green doesn't like that position.
Law is so close to green now, he can cause him problems at the mark. He's going to try and stop him tacking going round the mark.
Andy Green has reached the mark, jib flapping.
No attack! No way! No way! Throw it! I'm head to win! Absolutely head to win!
Both skippers claiming protest.
Now the question is, was green through head to wind and into his tack? And it's a penalty against green. The yellow flag is a penalty against green.
1-1, so they
cancel out now. They cancel out, so it's absolutely all bets are off. It's an even race from here on. And here's what happened. Green goes head to win, but Law comes up to stop him tacking. Green goes through the tack and Law has to bear away to go round his stern. Protests, lots of theatricals to make sure the umpires have seen it all clearly. The umpire's in no doubt.
But Andy Green just about half a boat length ahead, but with the wind behind, Chris Law can easily get in the attacking position. Nervous
but he'll get
for
right
the crew
to
on
us
board
there.
Green's boat. Looking back, they know Law's going to do something. They don't know exactly what. Andy Green doesn't look happy there.
Yeah, I know we are.
Gerard Michel.
Okay, let's jibe now.
Used to pressure. Crew with Laurie Smith on the whip red as Green jibes. Chris Law is now taking his win.
Going high.
Law is on the attack. Law is now going past Andy Green, reeling him in. Andy Green pulling in the main sheet, trying to defend his position, but Law's got the speed. Law accelerates. Andy Green accelerates behind, but Law is on the attack and has got the advantage. That was a great move there by Chris Law. Andy Green now coming up, very close. I think Law is clear ahead. Oh, look at that, Law is clear ahead. Great bit of sailing there by Chris Law and his team, and he's coming in down towards the bottom mark, clearly ahead. Andy Green reacted, but he reacted just too late. Oh, look at that. Green has just sailed straight into the back of Chris Law. Frustration, but a big mistake and a penalty to Andy Green. How fortunes change. Malcolm.
Really, Green had the chance to defend down that run by luffing up, coming across to the right. He did it, but it was too little and too late. That let Raw roll over the top of him, then coming into the bottom mark, completely unforced error. Green just lost it, sailed into the back of Law. Now he's got a penalty against him, and he's behind.
Well, Law's got to keep him there. He's got to keep his composure.
Well, that was the end of Green's race and the end of his championship. Law walked away and Green still had a penalty.
4 boat lengths in it. Andy Green still carrying that penalty.
Nice job, Andy, thanks.
Oh, so guys, bad luck.
For Green, it all hinged on that top mark incident where Law squared the penalties.
I mean, I think the problem was that he actually hunted us, he actually came down, we then went for the tack and then he luffed up, so... Well, no, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, I'm just wondering how the umpire, how the umpire saw it. It was hard to see from our point of view. He's so very smart, He's number 2 in the world.
And on the other side, Williams went through with similar ease. Beating his friend by quite a large margin was a bittersweet victory.
Obviously pretty pleased about that. Rich is always a very tough component. I mean, I feel for him a bit. We're obviously very good friends, and I honestly like to see him doing well. So it's quite harsh to see him go out here. I mean, we always prefer to meet him in the final.
The scores there perhaps not reflecting the equality of the semi-final contest, but the final an exciting prospect, with the world's number 2 against the young reigning champion.
We've raced him 3 times before, and we've beaten him twice.
He's obviously extraordinarily talented. If he beats us, he'll have to be pretty good.
Well, that's Chris Law going out to the final against Ian Williams. Is it just going to be a predictable final, or can Williams get him?
I think you have to say, if you're going to bet on Williams, use somebody else's money, but Law is beatable.
And Williams certainly had the skills to beat him as we join the final. First race, just under 3 minutes to go.
Malcolm, are we going to see a more cautious pre-start, do you think?
So far, it's been cooler than the pre-starts we've seen earlier, but still a moment or two to go.
Speed, standby reversal.
1:45 for the start as Williams tacks back.
Let's go.
Williams has got the better start ratio. He's won 60% against Law's 44%.
And back. 140. And down. Let's get down.
It's impressive the way they use the wall.
And just those coded messages you heard Law say earlier, standby reversal, his crew know exactly what it means.
Oh, Williams jibes, Law heads up. Oh, big collision. Williams surely in the wrong there.
Maybe not, because Law was altering course very fast towards him. And indeed, the umpires called it against Law.
How can you do that?
Well, Law's very surprised about that, but the umpires obviously felt that he was turning too fast towards William, who did have to keep clear.
So Williams with the blue jib tacks, just over a minute to go for the start. He eyes across towards the start line.
1 minute.
Now he's just got to keep his nose clean here. Law, a penalty down against him.
So Williams sails down in front of Law. He can't let Law get the overlap. If he does, Law gets in control. Law heads up, just over 40 seconds to the start. Both boats head to wind.
He's tacked.
Law claiming Williams tacked, trying to get a penalty on Williams.
Let's get right down.
Well, they both tacked. The boom came across Law's centre line and then went back.
Umpire's making decision.
That's a green flag. No penalty.
25 seconds to go. The start line between the yellow buoy and the white boat, and it looks to me as if Williams is too early. Williams is in trouble.
Law has him pinned against that mark.
Oh, a bit of confusion on board Williams' boat. He was
trying to get down away, trying to get round. He's going to have to go round the pin.
7 seconds to go. Law with a yellow jib at the committee boat end.
Law gets the better of that start. In control, pointing in the right direction. That's always a help.
Great start there for Chris Law and his team as Williams sails behind him. Law, remember though, carrying the penalty as he tacks, protecting his position, trying to pin Williams down.
Stand by tack, go main.
Always going to try and stay between Williams and the windward mark now. Always going to sail across his bow, take his wind, slow him down and then tack again.
Let's go.
As Williams tacks, Law covers. Law's got such a reputation for losing his rag, but he's very calm and composed despite having that penalty.
Now there's a complication arising here. They're getting into the race ahead of them, which is the 3rd and 4th place sail-off. This is very unfortunate. Law, of course, may try to use this to wipe Williams off on one of those other boats.
I think Law will like it. The boat handling on board is just impeccable. Every time they tack, whoever they sail against, Law and his team seem to have the edge.
They just pull out about a quarter of the boat length of tack. 4 tacks, that's a boat length.
We watch him in here.
So as Williams tack back, they're going to go behind Law.
Okay.
Law, just a silky smooth tack. Look at the movement, look at the choreography on board.
Can we tack out? Let's go.
Williams deliberates and then tacks back. And Law predictably
right in phase with him, right on his weather bow.
It's like ballet going up here, isn't it?
Let him go.
Law, of course, practicing this for years.
Lifting pressure.
Oh, they split tacks now. The yellow jib of Chris Law has gone out. Top mark to the left-hand side of Pitcher. And the blue jib of Williams. Both seem to be in good wind at the moment. Very difficult to tell who's got the advantage.
That's a knock. Let's go. It's going to come back a bit though. We're laying here. Where is he?
Williams, he's laying the mark. Ask where Law is, and there is Law on the same tack.
But over on the right-hand side, Law will be coming in again on starboard tack with the right-of-way as they come in towards the mark.
So this is the moment of convergence. Chris Law coming in on starboard.
I think we go out sailing.
Doesn't want to risk Darling. That means he doesn't want to head for an attacking move, wants to protect his position, doesn't want to incur another penalty.
That was the trouble he got into in the semi-final against Green.
But Law is ahead.
Perfect tack right on Williams' bow, right between him and the mark. going to lead him in towards the mark.
Law leading, but remember he still has got to do that penalty turn.
We've got to go, we're not going to make it, are we? Let's go.
He's forced Williams to tack away. Williams is just sitting
within 2.
in the dirty air coming off Law's sails.
Yeah, but he thought Law was going to have to tack, but Law isn't. He's laid the mark and he's round clear ahead. Well, Law now a boat length and a half ahead of Green, but remember, Law is carrying that penalty, so there's still very much of a race on between these two as Law hoists the spinnaker. Always the boat handling so impeccable on board. Andy Hemmings on spinnaker sheet. Went the Olympics in 1992 with Paul Brotherton.
Law was looking quick as he drew away from Williams. By the final beat, he had eased out further as we rejoined the race. But remember, he's still carrying that crucial pre-start penalty.
Burn off that penalty on this beat, because he can take a turn any time during the race and that will wipe out the penalty.
But that is all about timing. Andy Hemmings focused on the boat behind.
I do.
Chris Law believing that he can take that penalty now.
Below the bank.
Still stay ahead.
Jump lane.
Here he goes. Prepares to jibe. Throws the boat round into a spin as Williams powers off. Well, you can't do it neater than that, but will he be ahead?
Can we cross? I've been knocked.
That's exactly the question Williams is asking. Can he get across in front of Law?
Chris Law on the attack, head hunched in the shoulders. He's done his penalty turn.
Yeah? Let's go.
Williams tacks. Will he cross ahead of Chris Law? Quick look from Williams there, across towards Law. He's looking good at the moment. Williams is clear ahead as he rounds the top mark for the last time.
That could have been a crucial miscalculation on Law's part. Taking his penalty then, he thought he had room to do it, but now he's behind Williams, only 1 leg to go.
Law releasing a bit of tension there as he jibes. We've seen him perform impressively downwind when he rolled past Andy Green. He's in that same position now with Williams.
Going to come up on his angle, okay?
Going to come up on his angle, try and defend his position, stop Law taking his wind. Oh, Law's got a big gust there and he's trying to surf on the wake behind Williams' boat and he's gaining fast.
Here we go.
Law likes it, here we go. Hemmings pumps the spinnaker. And look, there's only less than a boat length in it now. Williams goes for the jibe.
But Law turns straight downwind. He's still on starboard. He can stop him jibing.
Protest.
No jibe! Stop it!
Well, they're on the attack. War cries there from Chris Law. Look at Ian Williams just struggling to hold on as Law sails straight past. And oh, look, that's the penalty. Penalty for Ian Williams. Well, Williams has got to try and get out of this mess somehow. He's carrying that penalty. He's jibes. Dives behind Chris Law. Oh, there's something happening there.
Oh, his spinnaker, it's all over Law's boat, right across the backstay. That must be 2 penalties. There must be another penalty because of that.
Well, Williams jibes. He's behind Chris Law. Look at the face.
What happened?
Can't believe it.
Well, might he ask what happened? He's just lost it completely. A shell-shocked William.
Well, that was an awesome bit of downwind sailing. We've seen some impressive stuff from Chris Law, but that was the best. He made easy meat of Ian Williams. And remember, Williams is the defending champion. Law number 2 in the world, but what a start to the final. Look, Andy Hemmings smiling. He enjoyed that. And Williams won't be enjoying that penalty turns. Not the way he planned to start this final. 1-0 down.
We controlled the race for most of it. We were pretty happy to hang on to him. He started his penalty. He did his penalty when he was behind. But then, unfortunately, he just got a gust down on the last run and caught us.
I mean, that's what match racing's all about. Very close. We got penalised in the pre-start, marginal, I thought. Set the call, got back to him, we did our turn, and he just was able to get back ahead of us. We didn't do such a good set, but we had a nice puff of wind, able to use his weight, come up behind him, and as he jibed, straighten it on starboard, and his port and starboard jibing right in front of us. And then the second one, I think he was just a little desperate. Good racing, great racing. He's sailing really well.
But not well enough as Law took the second race and Williams was forced to dig deep into his psychological reserves to find an answer. It came in the pre-start of race 3 when Law misjudged and knocked into Williams. Penalty to Law, advantage to Williams.
Drive round the front.
Overlap.
But then Williams got one for sailing into a prohibited area as we join with under 10 seconds to go.
Mustn't let him tack.
9 seconds to go. Law doesn't want Williams to tack. He wants to trap Williams in there behind the committee boat. And when he seems to have done that, well, what's Williams doing? He's tacked right in front of Law, smashes into the side of him.
Blatant foul, blatant foul.
Well, both boats protesting, but the moment Williams has got the advantage, no yellow flag, penalty to Williams.
And a second penalty. That's because he got such a significant advantage out of that foul. He was still in front of Law. The umpires are making him do one turn straight away.
But Williams now has got to keep his composure. He's got to forget he's 2-0 down in this final. He's got to try and recover. Something Chris Law's done many times in this event so far.
I'm quite upset about that.
Well, upset he may be, but he's got to try and gather his composure. He's put himself in a big hole, but he's got to find a way of digging himself out of it.
And that was the regatta right there, as Williams trailed and still carried one penalty. Law sailed away to win the championship in 3 straight races.
Good job, guys. Great.
Sure justification of his position on the world stage. Williams fought well, but in the end was deposed. Not a happy experience.
Well upset, really. So, see that last one, 15 seconds to go, we had control of the start. Chris had overrun. He's going to be in trouble. He rams us. 15 seconds later, we're 2 penalties down. What can we do? But, to be fair, they sail well. They sail pretty consistently. They've beaten us 3-0.
Well, sailing the youngsters is always very difficult. The boats don't favour us particularly, but in the end, I think it just comes down to experience and having the team that we have. We now look forward to going to Bermuda for the Gold Cup and then to Japan for the World Championships and see if we can finish the year #1 world ranking and world champion.
Well, that's it from Falmouth. It's been a great week. We've seen some wonderful talent coming through, young talent, but it's the experienced sailor who in the end proved the most consistent sailor. From Falmouth, and congratulations to Chris Law. Goodbye.